I
I got
know, it's so
pictures
cute.
going on my frame over my shoulder here. That is such a cool ride. I love that. There's so many like little things about Disneyland that I just love, and it's not the big stuff.
Yeah, I know. I don't love a lot of the big stuff. My big complaint about Disneyland is there's just not enough sit down restaurants, like period.
Well, see, like when you're solo, it didn't even bother me, right? Because I wasn't doing that kind of stuff. So so I was totally good because like I had plenty to do. Like when you're by yourself and because I wasn't with anybody, so I was like totally fine just snacking around. Like it was perfect for me. You know what I'm saying? You're right. I mean, it's a whole different experience in the world when you're solo. Because it's just like
Yeah.
I hit order food and I'd be like, man, this is like heaven. Like I got 8,000 options right now to go to for because I was like, I don't have to have like a meal. Like I can have, like I said, like that brat. I can have that brat and that'll do me good for like 3 or 4 hours. Then I go get some beignets. Then I'd have like a
Yeah.
sourdough bowl of clam chowder. That's not really a meal, but that'll hold me over for like 3 hours. Like it was just like it was such because I didn't want to go home and like regret that I didn't have something. So I was always trying to, because I wanted to eat at Harbor Galley. I wanted to eat at Tiana's Palace. I wanted to try everything out. I mean, I didn't get to go to Blue Bayou. I didn't get to go to Cafe Orleans. I didn't get to go to any sit down places, but that's just for another day when I'm there with Scott. So I just only do those places by myself. I mean, I kept trying to get in. I would have done Blue Bayou by myself, but I could never get a reservation. I was trying to get a walk up.
I know. Yeah, that's rough. Just the whole doing that. I think just like after a few days, though, you're just like tired. But you know what? I'll be honest. The other thing I'm so tired about, just everywhere, and this is not just at Disney, but like I'm tired of it. Like just Steve and I going out and it being like $75 to $100.
Well, I'm with you there.
It's nuts.
Well, so where was I?
We tried to order 2 pizzas the other day and it was over $50. I'm like, are you kidding me?
Okay, I was at LAX yesterday morning flying home, right? Okay, I had a 5:30 flight. So this was at 4:30 or something in the morning because I was super tired, right? I had to catch my Uber at 2:45 from my hotel. So I was half asleep, right? And I went to the Chick-fil-A and I just ordered I wasn't even that hungry, but I knew I was gonna have to get something to eat because I was gonna be flying this long flight, had to lay over in Denver, super short connection. I knew I wouldn't be able to get anything to eat there, and I wasn't getting home until like 12:30. So I'm like, I'm just gonna get 4 chicken minis just to have a little something in my stomach, right? So I get 4 chicken minis. I didn't even want soda because I didn't even want soda. I didn't want the hash browns either. I just wanted 4 chicken minis. So I got those. Dude flips it around. I hit my Apple Watch. Dude flips it around on me and it asked if I wanted to tip on the Chick-fil-A. And I mean, I did 15% because I was like, dude, it startled me. I didn't want to be a jerk, but do you tip at Chick-fil-A? I mean, we don't tip at Chick-fil-A here.
No.
I've never heard of that. But like he flipped the Lego iPad. I didn't even know Chick-fil-A had iPads. Like, I was like, because 15 was the lowest number. I was like, okay. But I was like, it's 4:00 in the morning. My cognition wasn't great.
Right? And that's
what am I telling you for? You're handing me a box of 4 nuggets.
Right. This is like your job.
I mean, you're not even making a soda or, I mean,
right.
Dude, I hit my boop, boop of my Apple Watch and you're handing me a little box. I see like 20 of the boxes right there. I mean, they're right there sitting there under the lamp.
But that's it. Like, this is your actual job. So like, I don't feel like I need to tip you for this. Like, this is
I don't mind tipping for service. I do it
to.
all the time and I tip well. I tip really well. But dude, I was like, when did we start tipping for like me handing you a box of nugs?
No, it's
I'm
not.
like, we don't do this at home. Like it is like Chick-fil-A is expensive enough, period. Like $9 for like my nugs, my 4 nugs. Those are the most expensive nugs I ever put in my mouth. I don't take that out of context. Holy cow. I'm not recording. I hope nobody else is.
I know. Like, honestly, when we're on vacation in particular, I enjoy tipping. Like, we usually have such fantastic service that like I never think about it. But like, yeah, it's become tip forward, tip heavy.
That was crazy. I was like, this must be like an LA thing because like the Grammys were the night before and like all the rock stars are coming through or something. I don't know. It's what's up. Because Pam was like, oh, watch the airport because the Grammys were the night before. I'm like, I wouldn't know a singer right now if they hit me in the head. She's like, they're not like that. I'm like, yes, they are. Okay. All right, everybody. Hey, everybody. Happy Tuesday. I don't know what day it is. We're going to flip-flop things. We're going to do a review of Disneyland, where I just was about 48 hours ago for 5 days. And then we're going to do listener questions for Friday. So let me load up. My soda's empty. So let me grab a soda right out of here. And then we're going to start. So hang tight. How long is my leash? How long is my leash? Long enough. The legs are shot. I thought the Cardinals fired their manager. Nope, no such luck. All right. All systems go for a podcast. I have stories. I have stories to tell, tales to spin. Let's do this. Let me mute my phone. Wait, I need to know what number this is. That'd be a good idea. What number are we on? 2635. I should probably write this down. 2635. This must be 2636. And 26. Wait,
Those are some big numbers.
You're not kidding. 2636 would be. So there's no live shows. It would be 2637 because there was no Sunday night show. So they're consecutive. Here we go. The Pam and Mike Hour. Here we go. Dude, my stomach is making weird noises. It's like you put too much crud in me all week. I just had a turkey sandwich. Give me the gross stuff. Here we go. Man, my stomach's so loud. It's going to get picked up by the mic. I apologize. In 2 weeks in a row. Last week I was so sick, and this week my stomach's like, you're going to hear me. Here we go. It's so loud. It's almost echoing in here. Bad. Here we go. Welcome to episode 2636 of the Be Our Guest Walt Disney World Trip Planning Podcast. I'm your host, Mike Rallman from BeOurGuestPodcast.com and one of the senior agents over at the Magic for Less Travel. Happy Wednesday to you. Hope you're having a great weekend. I hope that I sound better than I did over the last two shows. I know, and I apologize. I know the last two shows, it was rough. I mean, it was rough as 100 grit sandpaper. It was a bad show. But you know what? Sometimes John Progress over at the Carousel of Progress, he has a bad day. He gets stuck. His arm kind of goes. That was me last Wednesday and Friday. I get it. I needed a little WD-40 myself. But you know what? You battle through and you carry on to see another day. And we're back. And I promise to give you an A effort on today's show. We're going to have a good time. And I'm going to recap some fun times out at Disneyland, talk about my accommodation, which Good Neighbor Hotel. I tried that, and I'll tell you what, I enjoyed it. I mean, it was definitely my aesthetic, my groove. I'll tell you about that. I'll tell you about 5 days in the theme parks. I park hopped to my heart. I hopped more than a kangaroo in Australia. I was all over it. I lightning laned so much. I mean, I was like Flash Gordon. It was the food. You may hear my stomach still gurgling from all the junk that I had out at Disneyland. So we're having a good time today. And joining me because she is the Disneyland expert. She knows exactly what I'm talking about. Pam Forrester, co-owner of the Magic for Less Travel and the star, the savior of last week's podcast. Pam, what's going on? Happy Wednesday, whatever day it is.
Happy Wednesday. I was happy to step in when you were not feeling well and just read. So if that makes me the star, if my special skill is being able to read, I've got something up on a lot of Hannah's third graders.
I mean, that's all I've done since 2008. Well, shout out there. I mean, we're doing great.
The podcast where we read.
Exactly. I mean, it's like reading Rainbow.
Yes, it is. And I'm happy because we've had some sun here in our area. First of all, it's not getting dark at 4 o'clock in the afternoon anymore. And all of our snow has actually melted. Did it melt there too?
It did. And you know what? When my plane landed here in St. Louis yesterday, because I got, actually would have landed Monday. I got home Monday, 76 degrees in Missouri. I was like, dude, it was 70. I think the highest it ever got in Anaheim when I was out there was 74 on Sunday. So it was warmer in St. Louis than it ever got over the weekend in Anaheim. What is wrong with this world? I know.
Where you live in the world, you have the biggest swings in weather like ever. All the years that we've done this podcast, and just like your swings in weather, you get hotter hots than we do and colder colds, and then it just like switches. Like your weather, you have weather like a day or two before we get it, but we never get it as extreme as you typically.
Yeah, speaking of, the county to the north of us has a freezing rain advisory this morning.
Lovely.
Just so you know. So yeah, you can't get you can't get too excited about it being spring, because if you are on social media, you see those memes, right? We're in that fake first spring. It's not going to last, and it hasn't. But
the groundhog.
Well, I mean, he's your neighbor, right? I mean, Puxatawny, right there. You're Phil. I mean, he's not to be confused with Phil Scheingold.
Right.
Puxatawnyville there. I was busy. I was running that morning. You saw a shadow, which is bad news or something, right?
Yes.
Going through the corrals out there. The time is so weird out there, because like I was watching a Mizzou basketball game, like hit my phone with our good friend Buckley. He's one of our agents.
Yes, Buck.
He didn't even know they had canoes at Disneyland, by the way.
What?
I know. Dude, we got to do like an in-service. I mean, come on. Buckley, you don't know there's canoes at Disneyland? Come on now. I'm calling you out right here on the show. We had to row. I was like, well, we're getting in one. We're fixing this right now. Sarah, his wife, dude, we jumped in a canoe. I was like, dude, you're an instructor. You're a teacher. You're a high school English teacher. How do we learn this? It's professional development. Grab an oar. Dude, we're out there. Stroke. And I told him how much Scott loves the canoes. He hates them. Stroke. We're out there, dude. A 5-year-old's behind me just drowning me, and it was cold. I'm like, oh, why'd I do this? This is why I love Disneyland, right? Hands-on learning. But I don't even know where I was going with this. But yeah, so anyway, that's one of my stories. I rode the canoe with Buckley. Yeah. But no, it was a time difference. So we're in the corrals, and somebody's like, the groundhog saw his shadow. And then, of course, like, I'm not from Pennsylvania, so I'm like, dude, is that great? Is that bad? I don't know. I just want it to be spring. It's bad, right? If he sees it, I don't get that.
Yes, I don't know. It has something to do with the placement of the sun or whatnot. I don't know. I mean, like, that's the other side of the state of Pennsylvania, which is practically another state and or country from this side of the state, just because like our traditions and stuff are so different. It really is sort of like we're in two states. But anyways, I just know that he predicts oftentimes that we will have more winter, which is typically true. I mean, the beginning of February, chances are you're going to have 6 more weeks of winter. Let's be honest. So but then when he predicts that we're going to get an early spring, no one believes him. So anyways, the whole thing is it's just kind of a hokey thing, but it's fun too. So,
I mean, if you can't trust a rodent, who can you trust? I mean, but I mean, here, we've been podcasting for 17 years, basically all about a mouse. So we're big.
Right.
You kind of boil it down to the brass tacks.
We're very rodent friendly.
We're very rodent friendly show. We can't really call it Phil because his cousin's a mouse and named Mickey and all that. It's kind of a strange thing. So anyway, that's weird. Okay. By the way, can because you said, your side of the state is very different than the eastern side of the state. Can your mayor spell your NFL franchise's mascot? Because apparently they can't on the eastern side of the state. She had a hard time with Eagles.
Well, we probably can spell it, but say it correctly will probably be our challenge, because many times in Pittsburgh, when someone says eagle, they say eagle.
Oh,
like that.
Such a tough thing. I mean,
I know, right?
That's why when the Rams were here, we only have 4 letters: Rams, R-A-M-S.
No, literally one of our grocery stores is called Giant Eagle, and so many people call it Giant Eagle. And I'm like, what are we saying here?
God bless America.
Why are we saying it?
All right. So I was almost getting ready to do listener questions. It's Wednesday. We're switching it up. We're going to do it. We're going to hit while the iron's hot and talk about Disneyland Half-Marathon weekend. I will say I had the best time, but you know what? And I've seen people say this, like when I post my photos, I try to post a ton of photos when I'm there solo. And again, Scotty G wasn't there. He had a work obligation. He was out in Vegas. We're so close. We were neighbors. We were in the same time zone this time. And, but he had to do some stuff for work and he's having a great time out there. And he's getting ready to go on the Disney Wish this weekend. So shout out. He's taking his in-laws for their Christmas present, some help with some real estate stuff that he had going on. He's showing them Disney Cruise Line for the very first time. So I wish him the best on the Wish this weekend. I can't wait to follow along through social media on his adventures. You can follow him at Scott at Ep Scott on the social media. So follow him and we'll have lots to talk about here on the show when he gets back. But when you're on these solo trips, right, they're so different. It's a race weekend. So you're kind of amped up because you're going to be running for part of the race. But when you're solo, the way I connect is via social media, sharing pictures in the clubhouse on our Discord channels, on the social media. I do FaceTime with my family, but I always catch them at the wrong times. Like, oh, we're in the car. Oh, we're at Mallory's cheer game. Oh, we're doing this. We just sat down to dinner. So a lot of times, you know, I'm just kind of floating around on my own. But I want to talk about some of the things I got to do, first time things, you know, special things. And one of the things that I did for the first time was I stayed at the Howard Johnson. Now, let me tell you my reason why I stay where I stay on these trips is when I go solo, I tend to stay at a good neighbor hotel because I like to stay married to my wife. I love her. And I don't want to, you know, stay at my favorite place to stay at Disneyland is the Disneyland Hotel. That's my favorite hotel. If I could stay anywhere, I would stay there. I've stayed there twice. I love the nostalgia of it. I love being on property. I love the rooms. I just love the whole feel of it. To me, it feels like the Polynesian at the Walt Disney World because you have Trader Sam's right outside. You got the monorail pool.
It's retro.
It is retro. I mean, it is the jam. I love the rooms are great. If you got a standard view room, you're looking out over the mountains. I can't keep my eyes off the mountains. Like as soon as I land and I get in my Uber, I'm a geek, right? I'm looking at the mountains. Like the Uber driver's probably like, you're an idiot. Like I see these constantly, but I'm from Missouri. It's gorgeous. And I'll talk about this. We'll talk about the races for a brief moment, but like there was a stretch at mile 9 where you're running along. I don't know what road it is, but to your right, the sun is coming up over these mountains. And I was pointing out to all the other runners, look to your right. Like, look, the sun's coming up over these mountains. And I mean, nobody else cared. Like it was so pretty. It was like something out of a painting. It was like God's play. It was beautiful. It was awesome. And it just made me smile. It made my heart happy. Nobody else cared. The other runners were just like, God, please let us get to the next 4 miles and get to the finish line. But I was just like, it is beautiful. Because last year we ran like directly into the sunrise over the mountains. This time it was to our right. But it was just because it was only for a little piece. Like there was a strip mall that came up on us and blocked it out, like a Coco's. It was a Coco's. Like you remember Coco's, like restaurants when you were a kid. We had them here when I was little. Mm-hmm. It's like a Perkins. You have Perkins?
We did have Perkins. Yes,
like that. It was a Coco's, but it's the same thing. It was like a Perkins, or like kind of like a Denny's, like a little diner kind of
like a breakfast place that's open all the time.
Yeah,
and I had probably has burgers in the afternoon.
Probably 10. That's what blocked it out was a Coco's. But
that's
so pretty.
So I will say this is a little known fact about the Disneyland Hotel, but there are some standard rooms that have gorgeous views of the park and the fireworks of the Disneyland Park and fireworks. Depending on where you are, you can, it's not something you can book. And I'm always shocked at this, right? Because it's not something you can book. But we have many times had a standard view room that overlooks, you can see the mountains. If you turn your head a little to the right, you can see the Disneyland fireworks. And it's always such a cool thing. I will admit though, there are times, especially with the time difference change, that I'm like, okay, I want to watch the fireworks from our room. And then I'm like an hour and a half away from the fireworks. I'm in the room and I'm like, I'm too tired to watch the fireworks from the room.
Yes. Amen. Okay. Because that was me, right? So I was at the Howard Johnson. So the Howard Johnson is right on Harbor, but it's perfect for a race weekend. And I'd heard this. And I'll be honest, I booked because last year I was at the Grand Legacy, which is basically, so if you don't know about the Run Disney thing, for the 10K and the half marathon, you go like down this little alley that they set up between the Good Neighbor hotels. It's between, I think, the Tropicana and the Castle Inn, and not the Castle Inn and Suites, but there's the Camelot. I think it is. It's like a little castle looking place because the Merlin's little gift shops out there. But they put this little strip in, and you go through this little parking lot, and it takes you back to the corrals. And my hotel was like 3 down. For the Howard Johnson's like 3 down. There's like a little Mimi's Cafe, and you go down. There's 3 hotels. I mean, it's a quick walk. It's like 5 minutes. But whereas at the Grand Legacy, I was like the opposite direction, 3 hotels down last year. Now I'm the other direction. But I mean, you're directly across from the Matterhorn at the Hojo. And the thing, I'll be honest, I booked the Hojo because like you said, I love retro stuff. Like I listen to retro podcasts all the time about old video games, old toys, old music. Like that's my jam. I love like the 80s and the 70s and stuff. So I know this isn't like the old, Hojo of the 70s with the orange roof and the spire and stuff like that. I get it. But I went in, man, the room was orange and blue and had Mickey Mouse art on it. But I lost it. I did a little room like tour real quick. I lost it when the plastic cups were orange and blue and had the old logo on them. I was like, let's go. I'm stealing these because they're disposable cups. But I kept them and they're right. I mean, I have them right there. They're right on the fridge right there. I was like, yes, I'm keeping these. But the whole vibe, it had the market, like the little store in the place was called the Mid-Mod Market. And had, some stuff, but I mean, had all your sundry items, that you might need, anything you needed, the breakfast items and, toothpaste and toothbrushes, all that stuff. But it had the vibe of kind of this like 50s, 60s, all the art and stuff was blue and orange and everything. It did have that retro vibe throughout the whole hotel. It had a water park, which you could take advantage of. She asked me when I checked in, you going to go to the water park? As it was 45 degrees. I was like,
you're like,
no. She's like, well, do you want a wristband in case you change your mind? She's like, there's a hot tub. I was like, I'll come and get one if I need it, but I don't think I'm going to be going there. I really don't think I'll need it, but I was like, I'll come back because there's like a little check-in like building that's separate. Kind of reminded me of the old Caribbean beach, but not as far, like remote. My room was 10 steps away. Because I got building 1, which is the main building, but the first floor, it was clutch. And I just went in the room, ran in the building, turned to left, and I was the 5th room on the left. It was so easy. No elevators, no nothing. It was so good. And like I said, you could see the Matterhorn right outside the room or right outside the building. And I could walk literally from my room to be to the security check-in to the Esplanade. I timed it in 8 minutes. 8 minutes.
That's
and
crazy.
And then you just picked which park you want to go to. The left, California Adventure, right, Disneyland. So if I got cold, I would literally just walk back to my hotel and change and put on more clothes or whatever. I mean, it's just almost like park hopping at Walt Disney World. And I loved it. I mean, the price was right. It was great for a race weekend because I was closer to the 10K and the half, check-in areas than I would have been if I was at Grand Californian or Disneyland Hotel. And again, I did this because if I was with my family, I would have stayed at Disneyland Hotel.
Yeah.
Because I would have splurged more. But when I'm by myself, and I'm kind of sloppy, like on the second queen bed, that's where I put my 2 suitcases, and I don't really keep the room super neat. And I just kind of spread out because I have my throwaway sweatshirts, my throwaway sweatpants. I mean, my room was a mess, but I cleaned it up to come home and, but it was the vibe I liked and it suited the need that I had. It got me where I needed to be. It was close to the start. It was close to the parks. I loved it. Pam, I don't know how you feel about Disneyland and the Good Neighbor hotels, but I think they serve a really good, it's a lot different than Walt Disney World. I will not stay at Good Neighbor hotels at World, but they suit a purpose for the race weekends for me at Disneyland. That's what I do for race weekends. It works well.
Yeah, I see that. So when I run the reports at the agency, I will say we overwhelmingly probably book more on site, even for Disneyland, than we do off site. And I think there's a few reasons for that. One of the reasons is at Disneyland, if you're looking for a true resort experience where you're going to have a beautiful pool area to hang out, restaurants like dining, you're going to have a quick service location and a table service location, and you want the lobby experience and whatnot. One of the ways to really get that is to stay at one of the official resorts. And because if you stay at even ones that are very close to Disneyland, remember, this is a city.
Yeah.
And those are going to be right on the street, and they'll probably have a small pool if they have a pool, and it will probably be right next to the busy street. So, like,
100%. I mean, I did have to walk past the man with a parrot every night as I came and went. I mean, the guy that was selling the helicopter things, you know, the LED helicopters, and the guy playing the saxophone.
yes.
I mean,
Yes.
was that additional entertainment? Depends what you define additional entertainment.
Exactly. So I think it really just it depends on what you're looking for. I think that we have some ones that we tend to book folks in because we vetted them, we know how we feel about them and whatnot. We have some that are maybe a little like, don't buy the advertising. I'm going to say people will be like, 1 block from Disneyland. And is it? I guess technically it is, but it's 1 block from the back of the Disneyland park, which means you're going to walk all the way around for a couple of blocks before you get to it. But I will say at Disneyland too, we do have some good neighbor hotels that we all really, that we really like. And I think there is something about that. So I think it just depends on the kind of trip that you're going for. And for this, I can totally see why you stayed off site.
Yeah, I mean, what it is. It's I was thinking about it, because I was out there for 5 days, right, by myself, and so you get a lot of time. And this is my job, right? This is what I'm a professional travel agent. This is what I do, and it's the value hotel of Walt Disney World. It's your all-star. It's your Pop Century, because I wasn't in the hotel room. I wasn't there. Like, I did not take advantage of I didn't need on-site dining. I never stepped foot in the pool. Now if I was there for the resort experience, that's where the Disneyland hotel is your go-to, because sure, like we said, I mean, that monorail pool is clutch. Tangaroa Terrace at the Disneyland hotel, clutch. And Trader Sam's right there, Goofy's Kitchen. I mean, there's so much with the Disneyland Hotel, Grand California, and Pixar Place. Great Maple. That's your resort experience. But for what I was doing by myself, Good Neighbor Hotel fits the bill. And I think that's where there's, it has the portfolio of what do you need when you're, and I think a lot of people don't understand that, but I mean, like, it's like having if you're playing cards and you look at your whole hand, there was something there for everybody, right? This time that suited my needs perfectly for what I was looking for. But if I was going back in the summer for a vacation, it's not exactly what I'm probably looking for. I'm probably going to Disneyland Hotel because I want to swim. I want to have on-site, just like you said, on-site dining, a little bit richer experience. But for just a place to crash, perfect. It was great. And it was super clean. And the people there that worked there were extremely friendly. Great.
Yes. And that's it. I think that's why you can actually buy a Disneyland package that includes a stay at a Good Neighbor Hotel, which is not something that we typically do for Walt Disney World, although we can with certain resorts. But that's why this is available, because for this very reason. And a Disneyland package actually has some benefits too. That's something that people should think about. Buying your tickets as part of that package and whatnot is a good thing. We've explained this for World too, but that $200 deposit means that includes your tickets. You can go ahead and make park reservations, because guess what? At Disneyland, they're still needed. Yep. And if you end up canceling later, you aren't stuck with $1,800 worth of tickets that you have to hold on to, basically. And that's what happens when you buy tickets separately. So it's something just to think about. And, we do this all the time. We're happy to guide people through this, but I think that's the great thing about planning with someone who loves to travel to the destinations that we sell. And that is something I think that all of our agents are sort of like, yeah, this is sort of the good news, bad news.
Yeah. I mean, if I had a kid, like a young kid, I mean, the kids were having, I mean, there were kids in that, because it was like a water play, because the name of the hotel is the Howard Johnson Hotel and Water Playground. Like, there were kids. I mean, it wasn't super warm, but like, the pool's heated and the kids were having fun, so I mean, I mean, you could stay there, make a vacation out of it. I'm just at that point in my life where I'd rather like just kind of hang in a chair by the pool, when it's that cold, because it was not warm this whole weekend. I mean, it was borderline, like you could call it warm, but I'm getting old and my blood's getting thin. Like I was not getting in a pool. I'll just say that. I was bundled. Anyway, so let's kind of talk about the other stuff. I was there from my plane landed. I got there like Wednesday afternoon. I came home on Monday, dark 30. Got in the Uber at 2:30 in the morning to go to LAX. So I was there for 5 days. So like you said, I built the way I planned my trip was I booked a package at the Howard Johnson. I added 5-day park hopper tickets with Lightning Lane. I mean, if you're going to go, that's kind of the way to build your package at Disneyland. I mean, this is what I tell my guests, just build in the park hopper, for how many days you're going to want to be in the parks, throw in the park hopper and just throw in the Lightning Lane. I mean, just it's not that much more in the grand scheme of things. You're going to pay for it ahead of time. And when you get there, you are just a king or a queen. You're set, like your tickets automatically activate. You walk into the park and the world's your oyster. I mean, like at 11 o'clock, you can hop to the other park if you feel like it. And the good news is you just open up that Disneyland app and you just look at and basically say, what do I want to do? And you can do just about anything you want. You want to ride the Autopia? Hey, look, and that thing's always available. Like, I mean, you probably don't want to ride it that much, but I mean, it's a rough ride, but I mean, it's going to be available immediately. Buzz Lightyear is going to be available immediately. You want to ride Indiana Jones? Now, the thing is with Lightning Lane, you're going to get that. Now, you might not get it right away, but early in the day, you can probably ride it almost immediately. But if you want to ride it later in the day, you're guaranteed with Lightning Lane. You might have to wait a few hours, but you're going to get it. Mansion, Pirates with Lightning Lane, you're going to get on that. But Lightning Lane, it's just like, I don't know, Pam, you've done this out at Disneyland. It's like the secret decoder ring, because here's the thing. The density of attractions times how easy it is to park hop. Because literally you can be, say, I mean, let's look at the furthest back. Say you're at like Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway.
Yeah.
The very back of Disneyland. You could go all the way and make yourself to Incredicoaster, which is at Pixar Pier, the furthest back at over at DCA. Mm-hmm. I would say that's a leisurely 15 to 20 minute stroll. I mean, that's your leisurely, leisurely, and that's your extreme distance to cover.
For sure.
But that's it. And you're taking advantage of Lightning Lane and Park Hopper right there. Pam, talk about that, because I think for folks that have never done Disneyland, and we've talked about this a few times, but it's doable. And I mean, anything you want is within reason at Disneyland.
Yeah, I just, so as much, that all of us who do this podcast, we are park hopping lovers. We believe in it. We can't do without it, basically. And as much as I love park hopping at Walt Disney World, it's probably about 100 times more important at Disneyland.
Correct.
It just is.
I couldn't imagine not having it out there, because you'd be like, you're looking over the fence. Like, I mean, seriously, FOMO out there.
Yes. If you haven't been, you're going to enter both parks through this like Esplanade area, and you literally can stand in between Disneyland being to your left and California Adventure to your right if you're coming in from the resort area. They are not far at all. You can, they're so close. So I don't know, a football field or two apart. It's just not that far away from each other, the entrances of them. So when you think about park hopping, you're going to want to do this here. First of all, because of the distance and just being able to bounce back and forth. And I will tell you, there are many times when I'm in one park and I'm like, dang, it's kind of crowded here right now. And I hop over to the other park and I'm like, oh, because everyone's in that park. They're not in this park. And it's just that kind of thing. But not only that, with the difference in park hours at times, you'll be able to then take advantage of whatever park's staying open later in the evening or is open earlier in the morning. The other issue is, and we've talked about this before, because especially in the summer, or especially not in the summer, that the fireworks or evening shows are not every night, it becomes very important to be able to park hop, because you may be spending the day in California Adventure, but the fireworks may only be on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday nights. And you want to be able to take advantage of that. So that's huge, I think, for that.
Let me just say this. Disneyland on Sunday night, my last night there, stayed open to midnight. Can you believe that? Like, World doesn't stay open that late. Like, it just,
Right.
because I was like, I told Pam, like, I don't have to get up. Well, I said I have to be in the Uber at 2:30 in the morning. So, like, I'm not running Monday. Like, I'm going to stay till it closes Sunday night. Because I have to, like, who cares at that point? Because I've got to get up 2:30 anyway. I'm not going to get much sleep. I'm going to stay till it closes, thinking it's going to close at 9:30 or 10. So I'm walking. I didn't even check the app. I'm so lazy. Like, I didn't even want to check the app. So I'm getting on Jungle Cruise because junglier at night, right, on Sunday night. And I'm just like, I asked the Jungle Cruise skipper standing at like the entrance to the queue. She's standing there. I'm like, what time's park close tonight? Expecting 10. I thought it'd be 10. She's like, she looks at her little paper. She didn't know. She's like, looking at her paper. She's like, midnight. I said midnight. I said it like that. I was like, whoa. She said, no. I said, that's late. She said, it is. We both agreed. I couldn't believe it. Like, it wasn't even a Friday or Saturday night. It was a Sunday night, like midnight. I was like, because I haven't heard like even Magic Kingdom stayed open to midnight, like in forever, like since like pre-COVID. Like, does Magic Kingdom stay open to midnight anymore? No. Like, I couldn't believe it. Like,
it's craziness. And that has to do with a few different things. A lot of folks that go to Disneyland are locals. And so they, they accommodate that. But then that's the other thing that makes Lightning Lane so much more effective.
Yes.
At Disneyland, is because they have a much greater local population that tends to not buy this as much. Lightning Lane, for those of us who are tourists and visiting from afar and spending, 3 to 5 days in the parks, it works for us. It really does, because it's a more effective system.
Well, here's the thing is, right, with Lightning Lane, you can only use it once at each attraction, right? At that point, I'd exhausted my Lightning Lane. And here's the thing, too. I had exhausted me. Like, I didn't want to do any more things. Like, I was just like, dude, I just wanted to ride a bench. Like, I was just like, I was done. Like, I told Pam, I was like, I'm going to stay. I was like, and then, it was like 8:30. I told Pam, I called her finally, because, it's 10:30 at home. I was like, I'm tapping out. Like, I'm such a wimp. Like, I can't stay till I said, I thought it was going to close at 10 and I was going to be able to ride it out till it closed. Like, people were lining up because there's fireworks, even on a Sunday night. Like, people were getting all jazzed for the fireworks. I'll be honest. Like, I did stay till like 9 and I did watch the fireworks, but I watched the fireworks walking down Harbor because the fireworks are perfect. Like, walking down Harbor, walking back to the Hojo, dude, I got the whole show. Like, it was beautiful. Like, I mean, I watched them over the Matterhorn, but I watched them going down Harbor Boulevard back to the Hojo. It was wonderful because I didn't have to fight any crowds and I was going to be in my bed, get at least 3 hours of sleep or 4 hours of sleep before I had to catch the old Uber. But I mean, we're getting to the end of the trip here before we got to the beginning, but it's wild out there. It's such a different vibe. It isn't. I mean, we've said this 100 times, but it is so. I mean, it could not be different, like more different from World to Land, and I don't know why. It's so weird. But okay, so anyway, I got there Wednesday, didn't have to run. It was just like, this was one of those things mentally. I had bought bonus time. Like, I knew the expo, because again, it's race weekend. The expo is going to be Thursday. I wanted to be there for the virtual queue. And again, if you've run the races and you've gone through the Run Disney experience, you know that the virtual queue to get the Run Disney merchandise is the biggest pain in the rear end ever. It is such a pain. I hate it. I mean, I'll be honest, because like, if you want to get a jacket or whatever, you got to get in the virtual queue. But shout out to Dr. Alan Young, who always helps me out with my merchandise, and him and his wife Grace did again, and I appreciate them so very much. They were there because they're in Club Run Disney and they're kind of Run Disney royalty. They're always in there first, and they asked me, what I'd like, so I got in there. And but I like to be in there myself to kind of just look around and see what there is, because my relatives always get me the Disney gift cards for Christmas, and that's kind of what I use for my purchases. And my mother-in-law, my brother-in-law, sister-in-laws, and everybody, they're always like, I know you're going to go to the races and this is what we got you for Christmas. So I'm always appreciative. Because they know I get my hats and my stuff. And so that's where I do my shopping. And so I went in there, so I wanted to get there in time to get in the virtual queue, could not be on an airplane because you got to be within 90 miles to check in and all that good fun stuff. And plus I just wanted to get there and be able to enjoy an afternoon at Disneyland without having to like, okay, like look at the app and say, okay, your virtual queue group is going to be coming in 20 minutes. So start hustling your way to the Disneyland hotel. So Wednesday, I just enjoyed it. I went to Disneyland and rode rides and ate snacks and had a blast. So, checked into the Hojo and I was just like, I love this place. That's blue and orange. And it's like, I was like with my grandma and grandpa in the 70s, we're going and, having ice cream. And so Wednesday was a bonus day. So that was kind of fun. Thursday though was the expo. And I will say everything smooth. Like I got boarding group 30 or whatever group 30 to get into the expo and they had plenty of stuff and it went pretty quick. And I went in, I got a jacket. I got a couple of, you could buy 2 of these. They had a maximum of 2 metal racks, Run Disney metal racks, and they were only $29 each. I was like, holy cow, if I bought one on Amazon, they'd be at least that expensive. And my wife's been saying, you got to do something with those metals. They're a wreck. So I bought those. And what else? I got another kind of windbreaker. And the merchandise was fine. And I didn't like the hats. So I didn't buy a hat this time. And my wife would have killed me probably because I have 7,000 hats here at the house. So she was glad I didn't buy a hat. And got my shirts and my bibs and, everything like that. Made sure I got my wristband to do the coast to coast so I could get my medal at the end of the whole deal. And got in and got out and got back to the parks. And the expo was great and was then, ready to run the races. So I just want to kind of briefly talk about the races because I know that it's not everybody's jam. But I will say I'd never done the 5K at Disneyland before. And everybody told me last year I did the 10K and I did the half marathon, but separately, I didn't do them as part of the Dumbo Double Dare. I didn't get to sign up for that. I signed up for each individually. I didn't get the extra medal or the shirt or anything, but I did the 2 races. This time I signed up for the Dumbo Double Dare. So I got the whole shirt thing and the extra medal. And I also signed up for the 5K because everybody said, that's what you're missing the best race. And I said, it's a 5K. How am I missing the best race if it's the shortest? Everybody was right. The 5K was cool. So here's the deal. And I couldn't wrap my head about, I kept telling my wife this, the whole time, like on Wednesday and Thursday, I kept telling her, everybody tells me that the corral, like the 5K starts on Main Street in Disneyland. And I'm like, there's no way they can start a race on Main Street. Main Street's only so big, especially at Disneyland. Like,
right.
It's not a big park. Like, and I mean, Run Disney races are huge. Like they're crazy. Like they're nuts. And so I was lucky. I got Corral A for the 5K. I got C for the 10K. I don't know why am I fast for 5K, but not fast for 10? I don't know how that works, but so I don't care. I just, wherever they throw me, I go. So but I was glad I got A for the 5. So for the 5K, I was in the front. So I just went where they kept telling you, okay, Corral A, you're up in front of the castle. I was like, all right, let's go. So not only are we starting on Main Street, I'm standing in front of Sleeping Beauty Castle waiting for the race to start. So Pam Forrester, can you believe that they did literally start the race? I mean, there's a race that starts on Main Street in Disneyland. I mean,
I think that this is pretty unique to be starting in a park. First of all, for those who always run at Walt Disney World, right? You aren't really starting in a park. You're starting in a parking lot typically, right?
100%. I'm used to just being like a 78 Nova or something, I'm royalty. I'm standing next to a castle.
So that's pretty cool. And your course looked pretty cool as well.
It was great. Yeah. You start off, ran right at the Matterhorn, and you had a great oh, by the way, guess who sang the national anthem? It was the Dapper Dans. They were dressed up like audio engineers. They had this whole skit worked out like Guardians of the Galaxy because it was like a Groot themed race, which I've never seen the movie, but I kind of understood what was going on. I am Groot. The medals were really cool too. So they ended up coming out like they're, they're dressed like audio engineers, but when there's 4 of them, I'm like, dude, that's the Dapper Dans. And I was like, here we go. And dude, they sang the national anthem like nobody's business. And so boom, Carissa sends us out. We ran right towards the Matterhorn. And I was just like, we ran all over Disneyland and DCA. I was like, and we finished at like in the park at DCA over right past the that little motion, the Inside Out little attraction right past the Incredicoaster.
Yes.
And so, and like, I ran it in my hot dog costume, because I'm an idiot. And like the Run Disney photographer guy came up and took like real close shots. So I got some really cool pictures at the finish line. I was like, well, let's go. Like he was up in my grill, but it was just a fun course. Great weather. I ran a cool, like my pace was like smoking. I don't know why, because I was so excited. I was like, this is the best ever. Like, dude, we didn't touch a parking lot. I was like, it's great. So I had a good time there. And then the 10K is kind of, almost the same thing. Like you stay in both parks again. You do a little bit of street, but not much. Weather was awesome again. You didn't go through Cars Land in the 5K. Cars Land is my favorite land, and you do on the 10K. So I was like, yes, I love it.
That's very cool.
It's dark. It is so awesome with all the neon and the lights with the rocks and stuff. So we did that and just had a good time there. God, I love the 10K too. And so we had a good time with that. And I'm just I know we're going long, so not everybody's big on the races. So we had a good time with that. That time, the theme was Ahsoka from Star Wars. I guess the cartoon. I don't watch that one either, but Ashley Eckstein is her voice, and she was running the race with us, and she got up on the stage before the race and started the race. Talked about, we all did like some forced breathing before the race, and she told us, I am one with the Force, and the Force is we were all doing all these Force exercises in the corrals. It was really wild. I was kind of hoping her husband would pop out, David Eckstein, who was the shortstop for the Cardinals when we won the World Series. That'd have been pretty cool. He never did. There was a couple of listeners I met in the corrals, which was pretty cool, and they were also Cardinal fans. We were all kind of rooting for David Eckstein to pop out, but didn't happen. So but yeah, it was a good course, good morning to run. Man, we had a good time with the 10K. And then finally, just real quick on the half. Last year, the half course, people complained about it a lot. We ran like along some drainage ditches. We ran across train tracks while the train gates were going ding, 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 ding in the dark. And we weren't sure if a train was coming or not, or if that was supposed to be happening. I mean, there was a lot of sketch stuff happening last year during the half marathon. I mean, let me just say, I've felt safer sometimes running in St. Louis, and this is one of the most dangerous cities on the planet Earth. But it was a fun race last year. Don't get me wrong. We had to run, tantalizingly close to Angel Stadium. Like we got to run in the parking lot. I wanted to run like through the stadium, but I got to see it. We got to run in the parking lot of the Honda Center. I'd have liked to have seen that too, where the Mighty Ducks play. We got to do some kind of cool stuff. But this year, we didn't go to any of those places. We went like the opposite. And again, I got to meet like David and some of these other people that know more about and they're from that area, right? And they're like, we're going towards the ocean. Like the first thing they told, because I don't look at the race maps, right? In the corrals, we're talking like, okay, we're going out towards the ocean. I'm like, we're going to the ocean? They're like, no, we're not going to the ocean. That's 20 miles away. We're going towards the ocean. We're going west. I'm like, I was like, dude, that'd have been awesome. He's like, that's 20 miles. This is a half marathon. If you hit the ocean, you forgot to turn. Anyway, I was like, I thought we were going to see the ocean. I didn't know how close we were. I never look at the map. But so we go out. But this course, of course, like the first 4 or 5 miles are in the park. So that's awesome fun. But if you've done the 5 and the 10, you've kind of done the same, areas. That's where you get all your pictures for the half marathon. But then you have to do like 8 miles of streets. And this year we stayed on super straight, super flat, and super like smooth and safe streets. Like, and there were people out in the community like cheering. There were bands. There was some stormtroopers. This one stormtrooper had a sign that said, "Bring back the Star Wars half." That was pretty good. There was a random guy that had right towards the end, he had a sign that said, "Rub my cat's belly," and it had like a cat, and I did rub it. But there was an out and back, like at mile 11, where you got to see people coming out as you were coming in, and you got to see like friends that were going out, cool. High five and people. I love out and backs where you could see, other people on the course. But it was good to see like people cheering you on. And it was just, it was a better course because it was flat. It was smooth. It felt safer. It was wide. There was lots of police out there. There were lots of paramedics. There was lots of just safety features out there. I mean, just, it felt like they really listened and they made a fast course. Cause the whole thing, like in the group I was in from like mile 9 on into the finish, like the people I was running around, you could just see people starting to check because the weather, by the way, the weather was perfect to run. I mean, it was perfect.
That's awesome.
No wind, cool. And like you could start to see like in the last maybe 40 minutes of the race, people were starting to look at their watches and you could see people peel and close and people were hitting, you could see people looking at their watches saying, they were probably going to be able to hit PRs this day. Cause Carissa even said it before the race. Like when we went out, like right before the race started, she said, I don't ever say this. Cause she's usually like hydrate, take care of yourself. Don't try to kill yourself. Before she sent us out, she goes, if you ever wanted to try for a PR, go for it today. Condition perfect. Push it. She never does that. She goes, but if you want to push it today, today's your day. And I was thinking that the night before, because I've been watching the forecast, and I had been sick, right? So I hadn't killed my legs. I hadn't run the week before because I couldn't even walk. So I knew my legs were kind of fresh and I knew I wanted to try to see what I could do. I didn't know what I'd do, but I was going to try to push it till when I used to speed skate, I had this philosophy. There was 2 things. You could save it, and kind of kick at the end, or you could push hard at the beginning and hold on like dear life and see how long you could hold on and then just hit the wall and fade. So I did the second thing. I pushed it at the beginning. My first mile, when I got the call that I was at 8:53 for the first mile, I was like, oh my, I got to stop. Like I never run in the 8s. I was like, stop. I was like, this is a half marathon. You can't run an 8:53 mile ever. And you got 12 miles to go. And then I just like the second one, I was in the 8s and the third one, I was like, okay, so I'm just going to hold this and see, like, I'm going to pay for this at like mile 5, 6. And I just hung on to it as long. And I'm like, I'm just going to, at some point, I'm going to hit the wall and just absolutely fall off. And fortunately I made it in just by grit. I don't know how I did, but it's because the weather was perfect. My legs were in decent shape because I hadn't run the previous week because I was sick. And everything came together that day on Sunday. And I saw people on that out and back on the mile 11, mile 12, Molly Kilo gave me a high five. Kim Markey gave me a high five. It's just one of those days where everything came together. And I saw a lot of runners in that same situation just because it was flat. It was straight. It was fast. It was a good day to run. And I heard that from so many people. And it was just kind of, it's one of those days where you just really, you're kind of like, once I hit mile 12, I did hit the wall. I was totally drained, but that's where I started counting my blessings. Like you're running under this row of palm trees as you were coming in. There was like a median with palm trees in front of the convention center.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm thinking, God, I'm running on a Sunday morning under palm trees at sunrise. And I just passed those mountains I was talking about at sunrise. And people are cheering, like random strangers are calling your name. Like, you got this, Mike. You got a mile to go. You only got a mile to go. And I'm thinking, I've run 70 miles of this dopey to Dumbo kind of whole deal that I've been doing since January. And I'm running in California, and like, how lucky am I to get to do this? I mean, again, I was so lucky to get to do Dumbo. And God, this 3 weeks later, and I'm in California running with friends. And I got to tell a couple more stories, but like, again, like that last mile, I was so exhausted, but I was not going to give in because I'm just like, I am so blessed to be where I am right now. I am finishing this sucker because I knew I had a chance under 2 hours. And I said, this is probably my last. I mean, I'm 51 years old. This isn't going to come around. Like the clock is ticking and I'm not giving into this and I'm going to get in. But it was I was just loving it. Like it was one of those things, like I was smiling through the pain, but it was fun. It was fun, pain, joy. It's one of those things like I was an emotional mess, like that whole last mile, but I think that's what running gives you. For those people that do run, I think that's kind of the drug that running does give you. And also Disney, right? I mean, I was in my place. Like I was at Disneyland. I knew I was going to have a medal. I was going to get to ride the Matterhorn maybe, or Dumbo or whatever. And I was going to go to Red Rose and have breakfast. I was in my place. Like I was with my friends. I couldn't be happier. Like all my happiness, my family was there, But other than that, man, life was so good. I was literally kind of like Katrina in the waves. Like I was running on sunshine that last mile. So I've talked a lot. I don't know what your thoughts are on all this, but the race courses were good. They were really good this year.
I'm glad. And I'm glad that you had good weather and so many people had good runs. I mean, I think that always is much more fun than having to deal with the weather issues that have come up the past few years for sure. But before you go or tell something else, tell people about the Disneyland snacks, because you were talking with me a little bit about Disneyland snacks before we started recording, and we all know there are some good ones. So tell the people the kind of snacks that are available at Disneyland.
So my favorite snack that I discovered this time was the cheesy garlic brat from Edelweiss Snacks across from the Matterhorn, which you mobile order and you get it with a nice Coke Zero. That's my choice, of course. And of course, there's nowhere to sit, but you just walk across the way there in Fantasyland and get a seat over at Red Rose. That's my place. And just kind of watch everything happen in Fantasyland there. And oh my gosh. So it's this big brat in this just kind of cheesy, pretzel, like a big pretzel roll. I mean, it's like a hot dog bun, but it's bigger. It's a pretzel though. And it's got this kind of melted cheese and garlic. Oh my goodness. Look at my Instagram. It's on there twice because I had it twice. I probably shouldn't have had it twice. Probably took a year off my life, but it's good trade, devil. But it was so good. I had it at the beginning of the trip, and then I was like, I couldn't stop thinking about it the rest of the trip. I had it again the last night. So Edelweiss Snacks, that was a good one. I will tell you, they have I had this thing twice. It was for dinner. Red Rose Tavern. They have this like flat, what do they call it? It was like a cheeseburger wrap, but it was wrapped in a quesadilla, like a tortilla, and it had like queso, a cheeseburger in it with some kind of sauce, and you could get French fries with that. What's that? That fancy stuff they put on top of it, like over at Primo Piatto. What's that? Those fries that it's got that stuff on top.
Like a truffle fry sauce,
truffle
like that.
fries.
Okay, yeah, yes.
Clutch. I had that twice for dinner, so that was a good snack. I had a catfish po' boy at Tiana's Palace, and right when I sat down for that, and that was served with rice, cornbread, and black-eyed peas. So that was kind of different for theme park food. Also, they had great honey drizzled beignets. I had that a separate time. But as soon as I sat down to have that for dinner under kind of the big tent there, the jazz band popped out and started playing on a stage. I was like, holy cow, dinner and a show. It was actually late lunch. But my time was so messed up. I was eating dinner and lunch at weird times. And because I didn't call my wife, she's like, I'm having dinner. I'm like, I haven't even had lunch. It's so weird. Let's see what else. I had for breakfast one day, I had this like breakfast Monte Cristo. So it was a Monte Cristo that was in a waffle. So the bun was a waffle, but it was a Monte Cristo on the inside. That was it. I don't know, like Royal Veranda, I think, over in New Orleans Square. I just mobile ordered that sucker. That was good. Of course, I had a corn dog. Man, and they had the Lunar New Year festivities going on over at DCA. They had a lot of booths going on over there, so I didn't get much of that, but a lot of people were eating over there. So it's kind of like a mini food and wine festival. That kept a lot of people over there. That was really busy. There's a lot of stuff happening over there. I don't know, what are kind of your go-tos when you go to Disneyland? You got any standbys?
So that was actually the first place that we had the pickled corn dog, because it was out there. It was out there before it was at World. And we loved it. I mean, we thought it was really good. So I like that. I think the churros are a little better at Disneyland, and I think it probably has to do with the humidity in Florida. They just seem more crisp, right? And they have about 8 million different flavors. Like
that is, you got to kind of go to every stand and say, okay, what's this stand have in Frontierland, or what's this one have up in the hub at the, it was like, because like I got my churro at because I got my pictures taken on Sunday after I got my medals. I took all my dopey medals over at DCA, and like somebody mentioned a churro, and I was like, oh, I need a churro. So I got it at DCA, kind of by the Corn Dog Palace or whatever, down by Ariel. But it was like a weird, like their variety was like a weird one with like coffee or something on it. And I'm like, oh, I'm not a coffee guy, but they did sell plain ones. I was like, whew. It's not like I was, like when you get a hankering for one, you got to have it like right away. So I was like, do you get some plain ones? Because I mean, I would have got a strawberry, because you're right. All the stands have different ones, but I would have gone for like a variety kind of, but not that one. Of course, I picked one that was like, oh man, no, I don't want coffee. Coffee churro pass. Yeah, but you're right. Everybody's either got a churro, a corn dog, or a corn on the cob in their hand out there. It's wild.
They do. And the other thing they have at the candy shops, like the shops where they'll have like a case full of candy. And this depends. Like sometimes they have seasonal ones, or sometimes they have the original. I believe the original is the best, but they have what they call these peanut butter squares. And basically they're like sort of a cross between like a Reese's peanut butter filling and like one of the more fluffy, sort of creamy peanut butter fillings, and it's encased in chocolate, and sometimes it has like peanuts on the top of it. But they're a peanut butter square. I'm looking right now. It looks like they have a raspberry peanut butter square, which would be okay, but the original is by far the best. It's just so good.
Well, and of course I had my double scoop waffle cone with chocolate like drizzle on the cone with peanuts every night from Gibson Girl, because the fact that you can mobile order a ice cream cone is the greatest invention in the history of the world. Like, I mean, it just makes it so easy because you mobile order it, you just hit boom when you're walking out of the park. I'm here. There's an ice cream cone in your hand as you walk out of the park. I mean, hello.
100%. It's so good.
$9 every night. You walk out. I mean, it's like a tax to walk out of the park, but you walk out of the park happy. When you go through that turnstile, they're always like, have a good night. I'm like, how am I told the lady every night, it was a different lady every night, I'm assuming, but I'm like, how am I not going to have a good night? I am eating a double scoop Rocky Road chocolate chip cookie dough ice cream as I'm walking out of Disneyland. Hello.
The best.
It's the best. I mean, how good is life right now? I mean, I got drizzle, I got stuff running down my face, but I don't care. I'm solo. Like, who am I trying to impress? And I did meet a family from San Jose, like 3 daughters and the gentleman, and he's like, can we get a selfie? I'm like, and the daughter was eating an ice cream cone and she was like a princess, didn't have anything on her. I'm like, but I got ice cream like running all over my face. Like, you sure you want a selfie? God bless them. They're like, oh yeah, you're fine. I'm like, I'm really not fine. I'd embarrass my family right now, but let's take a selfie. And we did. Andy Figg's asking what was my favorite ride I rode at Disneyland over my days in the park. I was telling Pam about this. You know what it probably was? Luigi's Rockin' Roadsters or whatever it is. I love that little ride. It is just, I don't know if I'm showing my age, but and I watched it a few times too, like after I ride it to shoot some video. Everybody smiles, everybody laughs, even in that, like watching the ride, like that ride just makes joy when you're on it, when you're around it. And it's a beautiful ride at night. Like, it's just gorgeous. I don't know what, Pam, do you get I mean, like, I just don't think you can ride that and not have fun.
It makes me laugh like the whole time. I think I laugh from start to finish when we're on that one. It's fun. It's, it's not high tech.
No.
And it's not over the top anything, but it's just good fun. Silly, good fun. And I love stuff like that. I think there's just not enough of that. So
I need to share a story that happened to me on maybe, I think it was either Saturday or Friday. And again, it kind of gets back to marathon weekend. And it just makes me super happy. And I just keep thinking about this story, like ever since I got back. So one of the afternoons, I think it was Friday, I wanted to get Bengal barbecue because I love Bengal barbecue right over in Adventureland. I was still my stomach wasn't, real 100% recovered. So I was like, okay, that sounds good. Just a couple of skewers, some rice. Like, that sounds great. And I mean, it sounds good anyway, right? I mean, just Bengal barbecue rocks at Disneyland. So I got that. And it was Friday, right? And it was like around dinner time. So it was like a nut house. Like all, locals would come out Friday evening. Everybody's going to get their food. And so I get my mobile order, my food, and I'm solo, right? So when you're solo, again, there are complications to the logistics of everything. So when you get your order and you get your little tray, You got to make sure you get everything you need. You got to get your fork, your knife, your napkins, because the thing is, you can't get back up. Like, you're scared somebody's going to clear your tray. There's a bunch of stuff. Like, you don't want to leave your table, your tray, anything like that. So make sure you get everything you need when you get your stuff served to you. So I get all my stuff on my tray. Well, of course, you got to go, if you know, like Disneyland and Bengal barbecue, you go like under that little area where the tables are, kind of next to that store.
Yeah.
Well, of course, every table is full. So I'm like, well, that's fine. I'll just go like out into Adventureland and sit like on a bench or something, right? I'll find like somewhere to sit out there. There's got to be a bench or like a ledge, or I'm not picky. I swore, I'm like helicoptering out there. There is nowhere even like remotely other than sitting on the direct ground. And I mean, I'm 51 years old and I'm stiff. I can't really sit on the ground like and eat rice and skewers. I would be like a show. People would be videotaping me and put me on TikTok. I guarantee you. So I'm like, I'm just gonna somebody, there's like, 30 tables in there. Somebody's gonna get up. Somebody's gonna make a move and I'm gonna get in. So I'm just like, I do a couple flybys, Eventually, this kind couple sees me, and they're sitting there, and they both have like on runner's jackets, like I have on, and they're like, "Sir, would you like to? Do you need a place to sit down?" I'm like, "God bless you." Yes, I was like, and I promise I won't bother you. I said, "I'm just going to eat these 2 skewers and my couple scoops of rice here, and I'll be out of your way." I was like, "Please," I was like, "Thank you so much." So I sat down, and I got to meet 2 new friends, Wendy and Dave from Peoria, Arizona. We sat and talked for 45 minutes, and they are the coolest people. Wendy is a retired nurse. Dave is a truck driver, and Wendy had just run. They both had just run their very first Run Disney race, the 5K. And she does some stuff on social media, and we talked, and we had the best time. And it was, you know what, for somebody that was traveling solo, it was the greatest blessing to get to meet 2 new friends, share a meal in an unexpected time, get to learn about them, get to hear their perspective on Run Disney. Because how many races have I run? I've run 70, 80 different races at this point, probably conservatively in my life. And, it's not a big deal for me to get out there in the races. It's kind of, just rote at this point to kind of go through the motions. But I mean, I enjoy every one of them. I love them. But I don't think about the logistics, but to hear like what their perspective was on their accomplishments. And she was just coming off knee surgery a couple of months ago. It was a huge accomplishment. It was amazing. And the fact that they were kind enough to offer me the seat at their table, and then to get to spend 45 minutes, we took a selfie, and talked baseball. We talked Disney. We talked about their perspective on coming to, Disneyland, driving up from Arizona. And it's kind of like, the Japanese family joined me at Epcot for the fish and chips. We didn't get to talk at all because we didn't speak the same language. But to me, that was like Disneyland in a nutshell, right? I mean, it was communal. It was, we were eating all together. They had the same kind of meal, and we got to learn about each other. We talked, and we spent a good 45 minutes. There was no rush to eat, and it was like, it was almost like a family there. And I didn't expect that, and I got to have, it was probably my favorite meal of the whole trip was Wendy and Dave, and got to meet new friends. And it made me super happy, and it's sticking with me even today. It was really cool to be able to share a meal at Bengal barbecue with those folks. It's just, Pam, you don't go to Disneyland for Run Disney weekend for something like that, but that's the highlight. That's up there with almost running the PR on Sunday for me. It was really cool.
You get to, I think we tell people all the time, you've got to be open to the magic. Like, though you'll have all these ideas about what's going to make or break your trip, right? Before you go. But I think if you're just open to the idea that something unexpected may happen, that something didn't go as planned and will create an even more memorable thing, then I think you're rarely disappointed, for sure. So I'm so glad. That's such a great memory. I'm so glad that you shared that. And you are open to it very often. So that's a good thing.
It is. I mean, because, because it was so funny because I listened to like the Trucker channel on Sirius XM because I'm like a nerd like that. It's called Road Dog. And I'm like, you're a trucker? I'm like, I love trucker. I've always wondered what it'd be like to be in a big truck. Like I've always wondered, like, it drives Colorado to Utah to Arizona. I'm like, no way. And so we talked about that because I just like to learn about things, right? I've never done that, but I've always been curious. And that's what I always taught my students. Like, Well, I mean, like when you talked about it, when we were out at Disneyland for a conference and you gave a talk at one of the, the big milestones of our travel agency, be curious, not judgmental, like Ted Lasso. Right. And that's kind of, one of those things, just always look at the world with curious eyes and a curious heart kind of thing. And but it was because of it wasn't anything I did. I was just, dude, I just needed a chair. Like I needed a chair and a place to eat my rice and my skewer. I was not trying to eat Ted Lasso. I was hungry. I just wanted to eat, but it was their kindness. And then it was just like, dude, I'm sitting next to a trucker. Like, this is the coolest thing. And then, she was a nurse and like, she is running a 5K after a couple of months later, she had knee surgery. I'm like, I'm talking to Superwoman. I just had, a little stomach problem. Like, what's going on? So it's one of those things. Like, I mean, everybody's, and that's the thing too. I think we got to wrap this. We'll do listener questions here for Friday, but when you go into a corral for a Run Disney race, I think you got to think about this because I think we're all like super hyper focused on us, like on yourself. You're super nervous, and that's how we got to be. Or like you're worried, like how am I going to get to the end of this 3.1 miles or 6.2 miles or 13 or 26 or whatever the distance is, and that's just how we're built, right? Because I'm the exact same way. I'm like, oh my gosh, did I hit the porta potty at the right time? Do I have enough fuel? Am I going to get a blister because my sock's not twisted the right way? There's so many variables. Is it going to rain? Whatever. But the thing is, remember, like just look behind you and look in front of you. There's thousands of people and everybody's got a story. There's cancer survivors in there. There's people that have had knee surgery this year. There's people that have had to, battle through so many things that are, I guarantee you, worse than anything you've had to go through. And they're going to fight the fight that's going to be rougher than what you're going to do out there on that road. So even though you're nervous about the journey you're about to take when they shoot the gun to start the race, probably you're going to be okay. There's other people fighting things harder than you. Just enjoy the journey. That's what I try to tell myself, because I get nervous. I try not to show it when I'm in the corrals, but I am super nervous too. But I just try to put it in perspective. I look around and there's people as far back as I can see. There's people in front of me, as far as I can see. But you know what? I'm probably not fighting the battles that many of these people are fighting. So just put it in perspective. We're all going to probably get there. We're just going to take different paths. So I just want, last thing, if you can get out there and do one of these races, cheer, walk, run, whatever it takes, get in this environment once, because it is so cool. It is so cool to go to the Disney parks, to get to see a race, whether you cheer it, run it, walk it. It's cool. And I hope everybody gives it a shot at some point in their life, but do it before long, because you might want to do it a bunch of times. So don't wait. Try to get it done soon if you can, because they're fun. All right, Pam, that's kind of my review. We'll talk about it more. If anybody has questions, we'll have a live show this Sunday night, and Scott's out of town, but I'll be here. So you have questions, you can call in. So wrap on that. So any final thoughts, Pam, for Disneyland?
I just think that it's, we're going to be celebrating a Disneyland milestone this year. And if you haven't been out to Disneyland, you need to go. Yes. You need to give it a try. You need to see what it's about. It's a different experience. It is somehow something for those who are very much into visiting Walt Disney World. It feels very familiar and yet very different in an exciting way. And I think you just need to try it. No one can really describe it, I think, well enough to, then seeing it yourself will do. So give it a shot if you haven't been there. It's a great time to visit because we are celebrating a big anniversary for that. And I'm looking forward to the celebration for sure.
70 years. And some runners dressed as Paint the Night too. I mean, how about that?
Craziness.
I mean, a hot dog's a lot easier than Paint the Night parade. Holy cow. Shout out to them. That was cool.
I know. Crazy.
All right. I mean, I'm not creative. I just throw on a piece of foam. All right, everybody, thank you so much for joining us. Don't forget our show and all of our shows are always brought to you by the Magic for Less Travel. We'll help you get out to Disneyland and eat that awesome Edelweiss snack. I mean, what it does to your body, we are not responsible, but we will help you get out there. And if you hit that mobile order, that is 100% on you. So check out all the details today over at themagicforless.com. You want to go to Walt Disney World, sail with the Disney Cruise Line, or even get out to the world and see the world with Adventures by Disney. We can help you there too. And the best part, no additional cost to you. Check out all the details today over at themagicforless.com. Please also use our Amazon affiliate link when you shop online. That one extra click supports everything we do throughout the year. It's beourguestpodcast.com/Amazon. And thank you so very much to our Patreon supporters. You guys keep us on the air. We appreciate you so much. You're going to get a bonus show this week. It's called Mike in the Midwest. Lots of fun coming your way on Sunday. So drop on in. It's $5 a month and you get those bonus shows, Mike in the Midwest. Come on over, patreon.com/Be Our Guest Podcast. Live show this Sunday night. Give us a call. It's just going to be me and you. So all calls for the entire hour, 7 o'clock Eastern, 6 o'clock Central. Oh, wait a second. This weekend, we're not going to have another live show. My bad, because there's something on TV this Sunday night called the Super Bowl.
Are you allowed to even say this?
Dude, we are, because if you come after me, dude, you're not getting anything. I mean, what do you want to take? I mean, you want my left toenail? I mean, I'll have much. I'm broke. I just got back from Disneyland with money I didn't have. So come on. Super Owl. Yeah, so we won't have one this Sunday night. We won't have one because it's a Super Bowl. Nobody will be paying attention, but we'll have one in 2 weeks. And we'll have it back open for you there. All right. So I'm at Be Our Guest Mike. Check out my Instagram. All the photos are there. But more importantly, come over to the clubhouse, beourguestpodcast.com/clubhouse. And check out Pam, TMFLT Pam on the socials as well. All right. Listener questions coming your way on Friday. So check us out there. Until we meet again, for Pam, I'm Mike, wishing you a great Wednesday. Stay safe, stay healthy, and we'll see you real soon. All right, we'll keep the listener questions shorter because that was long. Let's see. 2636. 2636. Do. Hello to everybody on Instagram. Thank you, John Stednick. That is how I feel in that last. Uh-oh. Do you want to continue? Yes. Yeah, I even bought the rocks glasses in the gift shop. Look at those.
They're really cool. They're very, very cool.
It's so cool.
Yeah.
I'll be drinking milk in them, but
it's still fun.
Oh, yeah. The milk will taste better in those. First time I had to boot anybody from the chat in years.
I didn't see.
When you come in and your screen name's the bad guy, you've already got 2 strikes against you. All right. Listener questions 2637. Here we go. Oh, and if you have listener questions, put them in the chat. This new email's got me all mixed up. The Cooper Creek Cabins. We have a question about the Cooper Creek Cabins. I'll give that one. Because I do not know where the Cooper Creek Cabins are. There we go. Welcome to episode 2637 of the Be Our Guest Walt Disney World Trip Planning Podcast. I'm your host, Mike Rallman from BeOurGuestPodcast.com and one of the senior agents over at the Magic for Less Travel. Happy Friday to you. Hope it is a super weekend for you. And if you are in Philadelphia or if you are in Kansas City, maybe it will be for you. Who knows? But if you're in the rest of the country, we're probably hating on both of your cities. No, just kidding. I don't know. I mean, it's like I'm here, of course, in the outskirts of St. Louis, Missouri, where we have lost not only one, but 2 NFL franchises in my lifetime. So, yeah, we're not big NFL. Well, I shouldn't speak for the entire city. I'll just speak for 99% of us. But, you know, when the NFL kind of packs up and leaves your city, not just once, but twice, you get a little bitter. And you might think that we're big Kansas City Chiefs fans here because they're a Missouri team. I don't know. My daughter wears Chiefs stuff because I think she just thinks it looks cute. And I guess some people like the Chiefs for other reasons. I'm going to go to a party on Sunday with my brother and sister-in-laws. And of course I love football. I mean, it's my jam, but I just don't know who to root for. I guess Jalen Hurts, former Tide quarterback. So maybe Eagles. I don't know. So I guess what I'm saying is my fandom can be bought. So just let me know who you cheering for. Let me know on social media. We'll see. I mean, got a three-peat going or the Eagles. I mean, again, when the mayor couldn't spell your mascot, that did not help me buying into your franchise. EALG XYZ. Can't remember how you spelled it. It was so bad. That was hilarious. Anyway, Pam Forrester, she can't contain her excitement with this listener question show and the terrible intro that I'm going with. Co-owner of the Magic for Less Travel. We've made it. It's February. I mean, we're almost over this wintertime hump. It'll be March before we know it. What's up, Pam?
It is. I know. I'm so glad to be getting, some decent weather and some some sun, some of that. So I'll take it. I'll take whatever I can get at this point. But I don't know if I'll be rooting or watching or anything about the Super Bowl, the big game, as all the places are calling it now.
Yeah, I don't think they chase down podcasters too much. If you say the word, I mean,
I hope not.
I doubt it. Come on, what are you gonna do? Come into my basement? Let's go. I mean,
so yeah, but I know that people get excited about it. So, and it's an opportunity or excuse to get together. So that's a good thing too.
It is basically it. But then after the Super Bowl, though, I'll tell you what, man, people talk about seasonal depression. That's actually after the college football national championship. That's when my wife has to kind of talk me back off a ledge because I'm like, what am I going to do? Like, there's nothing on TV. Now, thank goodness, I will say this. Thank goodness Mizzou basketball is better this year. Like I'm not even saying it out loud. I'm super superstitious. But last year we lost every league game. Everyone. We went 0 for the SEC last year. This year, we're having a much better season. I will say that. Shout out Dennis Gates, our coach. But so there's something fun to watch on TV again with basketball. But man, I just don't know what to watch on TV because I don't watch scripted shows. This is kind of like the tough time to watch. Not much to watch if you're Mike Rallman. The football starts again. It's rough after Sunday. Whew.
Maybe there'll be something.
I don't know. I guess I got to go to Disney, I guess. I know you're going down soon, right? You're heading down pretty soon.
I am. We're working on it, trying to get Steve at the spot where he can do all of the new things. So look, I'm excited for it. And it feels like we haven't been there in forever. And I'll take it.
Yes. Keep moving in the right direction. All right, listener questions. If you are tuned in live, which we have a lot of folks tuned in live because this is a European special live recording today, a little bit early here in the States, prime time over in Europe. And
whoa,
I know you're doubled up here, but two Pams, I don't know what's going on here. But if you have a question, drop it in the chat and we'll get you here on the show. But we're still good. We're good here, Pam. We're good. I love live podcasting. Stephanie's got a question, and there she goes. Shoot it back to just a single.
Okay.
I love live podcasting. This is the greatest thing ever. So if you're just listening to the audio podcast, you're missing all the fun, man. It's like there's two Pam, there's one Pam. Anyway, Stephanie says headed to Disney for process weekend, and I'm just going to read it as you type it. I love it. I'm guessing it's Princess, but we'll go with that. I'm not sure I understand how to use Lightning Lanes, Premier Pass, etc. system since I've not been in about 10 months. All right. So Pam, do you want to walk her through just a brief primer on how to use Lightning Lanes and Premier Pass?
Yes, I will. So Lightning Lanes now, what you can do when you buy Lightning Lanes, and you'll have the ability to do that based on where you're staying and your check-in date and all of that. You'll be able to actually secure some Lightning Lanes before you even leave home. That was something that people said they really liked doing. They liked that process. They liked knowing, okay, here's where I'm going to be this day, and we're going to be able to, I know for sure, hit these attractions. So you will be able to do that. There's also the ability to purchase a premium lightning lane, which is a lot more pricey than just the standard lightning lane things, but sort of gives you the ability to do lightning lanes at the parks for instead of just being limited to 3, you'll be able to do the attractions one time. So that'll be a good thing too. So I think the thing you have to really, I think, look at, and this is sort of how I advise folks who haven't been there in a while. How important are the attractions to you? How important is it for you to get a bunch of attractions done in one day? And I think, which parks is it going to be the most important for you to have lightning lane? I think that those of us who do the podcast and who travel to Walt Disney World a lot will say probably your top couple choices for parks you want to have lightning lane are Magic Kingdom and Hollywood Studios, right? Those just offer the most opportunity. They sort of get backed up. But if you really don't want to wait in line, I think you're going to want to explore some kind of lightning lane possibility to see for your entire stay, because even having that, I think, just makes the stay for those folks who are going to be like, if you know your family's going to be like 30 minutes in line and they're going to want to be killing each other after that point in time, I think lightning lane's a good investment. But if you're a little more casual, maybe doing the attractions aren't as important, it might be something that you don't need to have. I don't know, Mike, where do you sit on this whole thing?
So a couple things. My thing with lightning lane is I would only get it like every other day or every third day to make that day feel special. And like you said, I do it for Magic Kingdom and Studios because it's, again, it's density of attractions that gives you better value with it. You can also, because you can park hop with it too.
Yes.
So that gives you advantage there too if you have park hopper. So think about that. But here's the thing. She's going down for Princess. Okay. So here's something to kind of to think about if you're going for a race weekend and you're running. If you got the premier lightning lane, that's going to think about time on feet. If you wanted to get the value, because that is expensive.
Yeah, that's a good consideration for sure.
If you took advantage of that, and you're going to want to take advantage for what you're paying,
yeah,
you're probably going to be investing. I mean, you got to think about the equity and like walkability that day in whatever park you go. You're probably going to be spending 15,000 steps. At least a minimum. I mean, because even though it's a premier experience, you have to walk to get to every experience that you're going to do. There's no, even though they're backdooring you in things, I mean, geographically, you have to walk the park a bunch. So I don't know if you want to do it like as a celebration, maybe like on the Monday after the race, possibly, but maybe you're tired then. I would say to not look at that as on a race weekend. Maybe that's more of a vacation trip kind of thing. I would book lightning lane, just a standard lightning lane, but maybe like every other day or every third day, and take it easy every other day or 2/3 of the days. I think it's kind of like it's a sprinkle to kind of make those other days a little bit more manageable. So kind of that's how I see lightning lane.
Mm-hmm. I think it's a good thing. And I think what is so important to note is, first of all, you don't have to buy any if you don't want to. Disney really has a few different options. You can not buy any, you can buy Lightning Lane, or you can buy the premier one. So that you sort of have different levels of things depending on what is important to you.
All right, here's a question from Natalie in the inbox. She says, can you guys explain the difference between the cabins at Fort Wilderness and the Copper Creek cabins? I'm a Disney veteran, but I still get confused on these. So Pam, we have
There's a big difference.
Yeah, we'll talk them through it then. Let's go.
So over at Fort Wilderness, they actually, I'm going to add something else to complicate it even more. They actually have... Yeah. Two different kinds of cabins. They have these new cabins that they have created that have a new design. They are not the standard log cabins that you remember seeing and still can see, because those are still there. They have a different layout. I think it's a better layout, but each of the different cabins have a kitchen area, which is going to be, I think, one of the big draws for folks. Over at the Wilderness Lodge, they have the Copper Creek cabins, and these are little standalone, individual cabins that have 2 bedrooms. They have a kitchen, they have a living room area, they have a hot tub that's in a screened in porch right outside the back. These are some of the pricier accommodations on Disney property. So if you're getting confused and you're not sure which is which, look at that price point. And the Copper Creek cabins are always going to be really more expensive, but they're spectacular.
Spectacular. They are spectacular. I got to
They are. They're a really fun place to stay.
Yes. I mean, thebomb.com. They're
For
pretty
sure.
sweet. Alfred's here, and shout out to Alfred, says, how's the 70th going to be different from the other celebrations at Disneyland? I know one of the big things we mentioned this on Wednesday, they're bringing back one of the most popular nighttime parades ever, and it's not the Main Street Electrical Parade. It is not Spectral Magic. It is Paint the Night. It's coming back this summer. I think in May. I think in April, maybe. It's well, I'll check the dates. I don't know.
It's awesome. Really and
I've never
truly.
seen it. I mean, I got to go out and see it.
Oh, it's one of my favorite. It's one of my favorite parades. I just really like it. And it's lit up at night. It's just so cool and something that you really want to see. They're doing all kinds of things. They're also coming up with Wondrous Journeys. That is the fireworks spectacular that you're going to see. There's going to be all kinds of different limited time entertainment. World of Color is going to get a new look. So it'll be World of Color Happiness. It'll be a new show. Of course, they're still going to have the Pixar Pals parade. Why is everything just a tongue twister, man?
Especially with P's out there. Pixar Pier, and then Pixar Place Hotel. I know there's a lot of P's. I know. For podcasters, I want to make sure you got your screen going on your microphone.
For sure. They're also going to have other little smaller entertainment things that are new, like there'll be a new cavalcade. Mickey and Friends Celebrate Happy will be going on. They're also going to be doing some projection shows on It's a Small World. And of course, Mickey and Minnie will probably have new outfits. I mean, let's be honest. This is going to be a big celebration. I think it's just a great way to celebrate not just only the Disneyland park, but they're hoping to celebrate some of Walt in there. So lots of good stuff going on there. This is not a celebration you want to miss, probably.
What do you think of World of Color? Like, is that like, where do you rate that as far as nighttime spectaculars? Is that like a must do for you? Does that get up there for you with like Happily Ever After or Luminous or Phantasmic? Like, where do you, because I mean, it's a different show.
It is.
There's really no fireworks. I mean, where do you land on World of Color, like in general?
I really enjoy World of Color. I think one of the things that we tend to do with World of Color is we do the dessert party because we get seats. We're guaranteed to have seats. You get a great view. You get to have some desserts. You get a couple of drinks. It's for me, this is one of the Disney bargains. I mean, and it's hard to say that when you're paying that much for desserts, but you get a ton of desserts. Like, we've never even come close to eating everything that they bring to us. They'll give you a little to-go box and we end up taking, it back to the room, but it really is. And I think just having the seats, I think is a big plus for that too. So I like it. I think it's a different kind of show, but I think it always has a great soundtrack. It always incorporates so many good moments, and you often hear Walt's voice in it, and all of those things just make for a really heartwarming show.
When they put Walt's voice in a nighttime spectacular, stop.
Boom.
Stop. I know. It's like, what are you doing? Like, I'm here in front of thousands of people. Why are you wrecking me like that? They should come out with a warning like 5 minutes before the show, like,
right.
Ladies and gentlemen, this show will include Walt Disney's voice. You have 5 minutes to clear the area if you are going to be an emotional wreck. Thank you.
It's true. If I were an Imagineer, that would be all I would do. I'd be like, "Could we add Walt's voice to this
Yeah,
somehow?" Or can we do a Walt quote here? Or do we have a piece of Walt memorabilia? Like, and they would be like, "We don't want to see Forrester anymore because she doesn't have any good ideas. All she wants to do is add Walt to stuff."
If you did that warning, you would see all the Disney nerds like it'd be like a 5K sprint. It'd be like, oh, I'm gonna do Walt's voice.
Right?
I gotta run. I cannot be within earshot of this show.
It's crazy.
Let's see here. Okay, William's got a question here in the inbox, and it says, "Hello, BOGB crew. My wife, 10-year-old son, 6-year-old daughter, and I have plans to return to Disney World for a week for spring break, and we're staying at the boardwalk. This will be our third time going there in 3 years, and I'm looking for tips on how to slow down. We've had a blast on our last 2 trips doing so many extras like Hoop-de-Doo, Bibbidi-Bobbidi Boutique, fireworks cruises and dining packages, character dining, lightsaber making, droid making, caring for giants, up close with rhinos, behind the seeds, and probably more that I'm not thinking of right now." So they've done all that stuff, but they want to slow down. First of all, the boardwalk pool is primo.
Yeah.
I like that. It's pool time.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's one of the best ways to always slow down on your Disney's vacation is take some time to actually enjoy your resort. And I always say this is something, you're spending a chunk of money on and you want to be able to enjoy it. So make sure that when you get there, you check out the activities that are going to be available at your resort. Many offer like arts and crafts, but they're not just arts and crafts for kids. Like you can do these like create these tiles. Sometimes they do painting, all of those things, but make sure you check them out there. And you can also check them out at the other resorts, which you're staying next to, which is the Yacht and Beach Club too, because you'll be able to enjoy most of their recreational activities too. Not their pool, but their recreational activities. The other thing is the boardwalk has had, and I believe still has it, they actually have a resort tour of the boardwalk. I've done it a couple times.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yes, it is fantastic. They tell you all kinds of different things about the boardwalk. I love it. It's just one of my favorite things to do there. Because you're at the boardwalk, you're also going to have access to all those boardwalk entertainers on select nights. And there are some good ones. So do that. And also Movie Under the Stars. I think there's no better way to relax and slow down and enjoy than Movie Under the Stars. And between you and me, you've probably seen these movies because most of them are Disney movies. But there's just something.
Unless you're me. Every time I go down, I'm like,
right.
That's a movie I've never seen. I'm like, holy cow, The Little Mermaid.
Yes.
Yeah, I've seen that one.
All of them. Yes. But do that because it is so fun. There's something about seeing a Disney movie while you're at a Disney destination that I think makes it even more special. Grab some popcorn, grab some snacks, go sit there and enjoy. While you're at it, go ahead and do the marshmallow roasting because, hello, that's just fun. I mean, who doesn't love marshmallow roasting? The other things I would do is spend some time at Disney Springs. Again, there are great entertainments there, entertainer and entertainment there in the evening. It's worth going to do that. Enjoy a leisurely dinner. If you have the dining plan, again, there's lots of great places to use it there. And I think, one of the easier ways to slow down too is just by not going into the parks. I think that by virtue of not being in the parks, you don't really feel compelled. So maybe you have a day to set aside on your check-in day, that you're going to get free entrance to a water park.
Yep.
So that you can do. If you have a package, you're also going to have the ability to get free mini golf during certain times. So you may want to check that out too. But just try some of the outdoor park activities. I know that you've done a bunch of the tours, but there's more to explore for sure.
And with that Disney Springs day, with those kids that age, like 10 and 6, and you mentioned being at Disney Springs, have dinner at Splitsville, but go bowling. Like, I mean, I know you have bowling alleys back home, right? But we never go bowling back home. And Splitsville, it has a cool vibe. Like, it's just fun. The balls are cool. The lanes glow in the dark. And
yes.
I'm telling you what, the food rock. Your kids are gonna love the food. They have great pizzas. They have great sandwiches.
They have good sushi.
Sushi. Yeah, I mean, they have great. I mean, you're gonna get a great meal, but you're gonna have a blast. There's bowl a couple games. I mean, just have fun. It'd be a fun night out. It's totally chill. Like if a game's on, if you like sports, there's a billion TVs in there. It's a cool place. All right, Ashley has a question. Hey, Mike and Peeps. Due to a magnificent conference timing this winter, I get the privilege of going to Disneyland for 2 days in February, then Disney World the following week. Bam. All right, where can I apply?
That's a good deal.
I get to do that sometimes.
You do.
I'm not talking to Pam. I can't say that. I get to do this kind of stuff all the time. I only have 3 park days at Disney World, but I have a park hopper pass. I don't think I could skip a park, so I'll find a way to visit all 4 parks. Unpopular opinion. Hollywood Studios is my least favorite park out of all 6 that I'm visiting, yet Fantasmic is my favorite nighttime show. Well, see, that's why we have that for our intro, just for Ashley. Well, I've been to both resorts several times. I've never been to both so close together. Is there anything you'd recommend as a fun challenge or focus, such as riding attractions or eating at certain places to get a true comparison, or avoiding all the duplicates to only do unique things? Looking forward to some sunshine in February, Ashley. So she's getting ready to go coast to coast without running the races. So what would you do if you had this? Because you've probably done this. I mean, like close together. How do you like attack this?
I know there are certain attractions that I feel that exist in both parks that I have to do. And I had to do them at both locations. I really, for instance, Pirates of the Caribbean.
Mm-hmm.
It is one of my favorite attractions at Walt Disney World, and I like it just a smidge better at Disneyland because there are a few scenes there that you don't get at the World version. Haunted Mansion, they're similar and yet different. So you have to try that one out. It's a Small World. Again, similar but different. There are a few
closed right now at land, so you can't do that. So you don't worry about that.
So sorry, but you won't be able to do that one. But when you get the chance in the future, make sure you do it because they're different. And there's actually another scene at Disneyland that's not at World. And every time I see that scene, I'm like, why is that not at Disney World? I don't understand it. I think the thing that you're going to want to look at is definitely dining, because the dining's very different at World and Land. Mike and I were talking about that a little before we started. There's a lot less table service restaurants at Disneyland when compared to Walt Disney World. There are more, I think, unique dining locations at Disneyland, or places where they offer something that you don't see all over the parks. And that's worth checking into too. And again, as we talked about before, if you have the opportunity to park hop at Disneyland, I think you're definitely going to want to do that. There's just so much. I don't know, Mike, what do you do about the attractions that sort of overlap that are at both World and Land?
Well, see, my thing about Disneyland is I make sure that I rope here. Plus, if you're coming from anywhere that's not in the Pacific time zone, you're at such an advantage to rope drop Disneyland because you're fresh. Like my first morning, man, I was up like, dude, let's go. Like 8 o'clock. Like, come on, man. I'm ready to go. Like I was up way. I was like, let's shoot the gun and start the race, man. I'm ready to get in that park because, I'm from Central time zone, and especially you guys in the Eastern time zone. I don't know how you do it. Like you got to be like, it's lunchtime before they're even opening the park. Like, let's go. So you get in there, and I'd go directly to Fantasyland in Disneyland because I think everybody needs to, if you have 2 days at Disneyland, one of those mornings has to be Fantasyland rope drop. I think there's no better Disney theme park experience. And I got this because this is the first thing we did on my first trip to Disneyland in 2022 that summer. This is just where we happened to go. Is you have to go directly to Fantasyland because the density of those attractions, you can do like Peter Pan, Toad, Pinocchio, and Snow White. They're just all right there. And you got the carousel you can do, and you can do Alice. You can do the teacups. You can do the Storybook Canal boats. All that stuff is within, like you're just literally walking off one thing onto the next. But here's the other thing is that in the morning there in that first hour, while you're like, this is where you turn into like a 10-year-old kid again. I mean, this happened to me this past weekend again. Like I was there. You don't need lightning lane. You don't need any of that stuff. You don't even need to think. You just do whatever you want because the crowds are not there that first hour. I don't care what day it is. You don't think about touring plans or anything. Everything's 5 minutes or less. You just get on it, except Peter Pan kind of backs up. That's the only thing. But while you're doing all this, like, I literally bumped into Gaston just walking through Fantasyland. There's a band playing, walking through Fantasyland, like like a 10-person like brass band. Bert from Mary Poppins is dancing with them with like an umbrella, doing his moves. I mean, it's like you're walking through a dang movie. It is so wild. Like Fantasyland in the morning is not, if you're any kind of a Disney fan, it literally, like, you cannot. I mean, Alice was walking with the Mad Hatter like at one point, and then Pinocchio was over by the one of that teacup where you get your picture taken. I mean, it is like it's like a Disney commercial, at least for like the first 90 minutes. It is wild. And you can just run around those attractions in Fantasyland. Like World, it's a little bit more spread out, right? It's almost like two halves. And you got, like the old Fantasyland, new Fantasyland, stuff like that. It's like so dense right there. Even if you're not doing the attractions, which I'm a nut. Like I love the Pinocchio ride. I love the Snow White ride. And I love Toad. I probably did Toad 10 times this past weekend. And, but it's just being in that atmosphere and taking it in. So I would do that. And like Pam said, snacks. Like try the different kinds of beignets. Like there's honey drizzled beignets at Tiana's place that you can Palace. You can mobile order. They were rocking. You got to get the regular beignets, the powdered sugar ones. You got to shake the bag from the mint julep bar. You got to get those rocking. But you got to just go around and try all this thing. You got to get your corn dog from the little red wagon and, just take advantage of that stuff while you're out there. And then the old standbys at World, we talk about that all the time, but yeah, but what I would focus on is like the Alice, the Toad, the stuff you can't do at World when you're at land, and then vice versa. When you get to World, the stuff that's unique down there, I wouldn't duplicate. Like, here's the thing, my hot take, I've never stepped foot in Galaxy's Edge at Disneyland except for the races. And I've been there 5 times. Why? I've been there so much at World. It's the exact same thing. I mean, do you? I've never 5 trips. I've never gone to Galaxy's Edge.
We typically go in, but it is not a place that we spend a lot of time at by any means. I actually prefer, I think, World a little more to land in there. First of all, World oftentimes doesn't feel quite as busy as it does at land. And I don't know. World I just feel as if World, where it is at World, it makes sense to me. And land, it almost doesn't. And I know that they have a limitation of space out there that's hard to overcome. But for some reason, where World is, you actually feel very removed from the rest of the park. And it sort of feels like its own park almost. And it kind of feels different at Disneyland. So
I think too, the reason I don't do it at Disneyland is I feel like my time is like more sacred at Disneyland. Like, and I don't have anything against it. I mean, I've run through it a bunch of times now in the races, right? And I've seen it, and it's just as gorgeous. At Disneyland, it looks great. But it's, Smuggler's Run is going to be exactly the same Smuggler's Run that I've done at Walt Disney World. And I'm sure Rise of the Resistance, even though they've just done some updates, they just reopened it actually this past week with the turret guns and stuff like that. But I've done it a bunch of times at World, and I would just rather, I'm just an ambiance like guy. Like I would rather take that time and do the canoes. I mean, as weird as that is, I'd rather do the canoes in the Mark Twain in the Columbia sailing ship when it was down, but do that and just hang out at Hungry Bear and just like be in New Orleans Square, just walk those streets and I just feel like I don't get to Disneyland enough that I'm just not a big fan of like exact duplicate experiences. When I get to World enough that if I want to do that stuff, I'll do that at World where I have an annual pass. I only get to go to Disneyland once a year if I'm lucky. So I'm not going to spend that time there because,
Makes
you know,
sense.
time's it's commodity and you got to spend it wisely.
Yeah, totally makes sense. Enjoy though. You're going to enjoy both. I think being able to see them so close together, it is a really cool experience, and just to be able to make, note to yourself, this is different, this is better, I like this, all of that, and just take it all in, enjoy.
All right, let's get to the last question today. It is from listener Rebecca. She says, hello, my mom and I are going to Disney for 3 nights and 2 park days in February. Thanks for helping us get our trip booked. Thank you so much, Rebecca. This trip is special because it's my mom's first time back at Disney since my dad's unexpected passing last year. I'm sorry to hear that, Rebecca. We'll be thinking of you. Disney was absolutely his favorite place on the planet. We're going to Epcot and to the Magic Kingdom. I'd like to plan something special for us while we're there. We have a budget of about $300 for this. Mom isn't a huge foodie, so a nice supper is not really up her alley. I was thinking about a dessert party, but we have done those before. We also have already done a capture your moment session, so that's not quite right either. Any other ideas for something special? Thanks for all you do, Rebecca. Okay, so not a nice meal or not capture your moment was what I was thinking of initially. But what else might we think of something special to kind of celebrate together, mom and daughter, here on this special trip?
So you know what I might do? I might visit one of the Arribas Brothers location, either in the park or at Disney Springs, and have something special made and personalized. You can do all different kinds of things there. You could do an ornament, of course, but then you can also do something that's more expensive. They typically have like crystal ears that you could personalize. They have other gift items, but it might be something that you can get one for you and your mom to sort of commemorate this trip, or commemorate your dad somehow, something like that that you could bring out and you could look at. I think things like that are really, really meaningful. The thing I will say is make sure that you do it at the beginning of your trip, because sometimes it takes a few days to have that personalization done. And that might be something that you want to look into. But they have beautiful things there at the Arribas Brothers. And I think it might just be nice to have something that you could like hold in your hand too, to commemorate. I don't know, Mike, what do you think?
I was trying to think of something that I saw at Disneyland, and they actually have a store for this. And I think they still do these at World on Main Street. Now, this is totally not going to spend the $300. This is the cheapo in me, but I thought they were so cool because I remember these from my childhood. Do they still do the silhouettes at World?
They do. Yeah.
And I know that's kind of a thing that like kids do, but I mean, what a keepsake, right? I mean, it's just something that's like classic and fun. And I mean, a mother-daughter trip. I saw adults doing them on Main Street, and they said they've been doing those since 1955. And it sounds like your dad was, the father here was like a very Disney parks kind of nostalgic person. And that would be like a very personal thing from this trip, but it's also kind of a piece of like nostalgia that Disney's been doing these things for so long. And it's again, it's like we said, like with this, it's like a one of one, and it's like, it's not going to be duplicated. It's from that trip. It's personalized to you two. And, it's very Disney, but it's also very just you two from that trip, but it's definitely not.
Yeah.
You could, you're going to end up with $270 left over. Again, I don't know. You go do something else, and again, you're not a foodie, but you could, go cupcake and ice cream or something, a bunch of times over, but you don't have to spend it all. But that'd be something I thought that'd be cute, like to have. I don't, because I saw a lot of people that were, I did a lot of people watching, like when I was out at Disneyland this past weekend. I did the omnibus for the first time because listener Marco told me, you got to ride the omnibus. It's a cool way, because I'd never done the Main Street vehicles. And he's like, you got to do it. It's a cool way to see the park. I was like, well, I'm here. I have nothing else to do. So I got on an omnibus. And he's right. And we're going down Main Street, and I saw the people, because there's actually a little shop on Main Street at Disneyland for the silhouettes. And I saw a couple coming out looking at it was like an older couple too. They were looking at their silhouettes. And they were just grinning, like they're grinning at their little silhouettes. And I'm like, that makes me happy. Like, are they gonna? And I'm thinking, here's me like telling the story to my head. Like, are they gonna take that home and get it framed and put it in the living room, or what are they gonna do with that? Like, but it was making them like they're on Main Street, USA. They're at Disneyland, like world famous Disneyland Park. It was a Sunday night, and they're holding a silhouette, and they're like a couple that is just happy. Like they're just in their happy place. And it just made me happy to see that. So I would love, them to have that kind of joy, hopefully
Yeah,
that memory.
for sure. And you know what? Probably with their budget, they can probably do both of the things that we suggested, have some things to take home, and then just enjoy the time. I think if there was a special place that your dad really liked, I think setting aside some time to spend there and think about him and remember all the fun that you had there. It's all about the memories that you make. We're never sure how long we're going to have to make those memories. So like Mike has said for the past couple of podcasts, make sure that you take the opportunity. And I'm so glad that you are.
All right. Just hope you have a wonderful trip. That's the, and Pam, we've talked about this so many times. We talk about this at the agency, but we're close friends, and we talk about this personally many times, is that, we are so blessed to get to do what we do, right? We get to, think about what we get to do. We get to help people plan trips to Walt Disney World. We get to help people plan trips to Disneyland, take Disney cruises. These are the best days of everyone's lives. These are, you don't count down to get to go to work. You don't count you don't have a timer, like a countdown timer on your social media, like, oh, there's 72 days till I go to, tax day or whatever, but you do have a countdown to the day you get to go to Walt Disney World or Disneyland, and we get to help you plan that trip. So that is very cool. But there's also so many variables. Like when I help people plan these trips, I just want every one of my guests to have the best time ever. But when the day comes, there's so many variables out there. I hope the weather's good for them, and I can't control that. I hope that the flight's good. I can't control that. I hope there's no delays. I hope that, you're feeling well when you get down there. But, again, we always hope that through the podcast, we give you tips and stories and just kind of the tools to put into your tool belt in the back of your mind to help you maybe avoid the crowds, or give you ideas to have some good meals, or, to kind of zig where everybody else is zagging. But, I think when you get down there, if you just kind of take a deep breath, these places, and what I always say, with running races too, I try to tell myself, let the race come to me. Don't try to force the race. Just take a deep breath and just run the race and let it come to you. But I think that's for your vacation too, right? Just get there. I'm here. It's arrived. And don't try to force the vacation. Don't say, I got to stick to this plan. It's going to happen. Just say, I'm here, and we're just going to have a good time being together as a family. Or even if you're solo, I'm just here and I'm going to enjoy this environment. I think that's the best advice I can give everybody, right?
Yeah, it is. We're so fortunate that we get to be involved in some of the best times of people's lives. Truly, to be involved in that, to be able to have play a small part in that is a privilege. And I know that we all feel that way, that we're just so appreciative that you all trust us with being your partner in planning. So we appreciate it. And thank you all.
Absolutely. All right. Well, we're going to get out of here and wish you a super weekend. And again, hope your team wins. So you're going with a bird, you're going with the other team, whatever you're doing, good luck. I'll be hovering over the nachos on Sunday evening and
protecting them
at all costs. Like a good safety, I'll be in cover 2. Just stand right there and intercepting anybody who comes close. All right. Don't forget our shows was brought to you by the Magic for Less Travel. We'd love to help you get your next Disney adventure going. Today's the day. Let's make it happen. Just swing by themagicforless.com. No additional cost. Great advice, fun tips, all the good stuff. Check it out today over at themagicforless.com. Please also use our Amazon affiliate link. It's beourguestpodcast.com/Amazon. When you do that online shopping, you can do that during halftime if you want. And also, big shout out to our Patreon supporters. You guys keep us on the air. We could not do this without your support. $5 a month is all it takes. And you get a bonus show for that support every week called Mike in the Midwest. Come over this week. We'd love to have you at patreon.com/ Be Our Guest Podcast. Give us a follow on social media. I'm at Be Our Guest Mike on Instagram, Twitter, and Threads. And Pam is at TMFLT Pam. Give her a follow as well. More importantly, we'll see you over in the clubhouse, 24/7 Disney Talk, Live Talk. We have such a great time over there. Live updates from the Disney parks over there, pictures, talking, and all that good stuff. So come on over, beourguestpodcast.com/clubhouse. No live show Sunday night because of the big game, but we'll be back a week from Sunday with lots of calls and lots of fun there. All right. So until we get back together on Monday, you guys have a wonderful weekend. So for Pam, I'm Mike, wishing you a great weekend. Stay safe, stay healthy, and we'll see you real soon. Boom.
Oh my goodness.
All
Yeah,
right.
so I will not be here next Monday.
Oof.
Will Ricky be here or not?
Oh, and Scott will not either. He's on his cruise.
All right, so I probably can do something on Tuesday during the day.
I can do that.
Okay. I will be there, at Disney World. But we fly down on Monday afternoon.
Okay, yeah. If we could do Tuesday afternoon, just let me know. I can make it work.
Okay, awesome. Cool.
Yep, I'll plan on Tuesday then.
All right, sounds great. Thanks.
Okay. We'll see you. Thank you for doing this.
Yep, no problem.
I said, hey.
I will. Okay.
Right.
See ya.
See you.
Bye.